On the first day of the divorce cooling-off period, my alpha was struck by a car and lost his memory. He insisted that only kisses and embraces could restore his recollection. Yet, in the past, our relationship was one of forced affection. "Are you certain?" he questioned, filled with skepticism. In response, I produced a video. He scrutinized it intently, then pointed at the person bound in the footage, asking, "Who is that lifeless green tea standing beside?" I was at a loss for words. "Your white moonlight," I replied. 01.gu Yenxing, you beast. Let him go. In the chaotic video, I was kissing Chu Nanting while holding him close. The person chained beside us shouted hoarsely, pleading for me to release the alpha I had pinned down. I held a pen, tearing open Chu Nanting's shirt, inscribing my name on his neck. As the video concluded, I inquired of the figure seated on the hospital bed, "Do you now comprehend our relationship?" Chu Nanting nodded, then pointed at the paused frame of the bound individual, asking, "Who is he? Why is there someone observing our little game?" I was utterly speechless, exhaling a deep sigh. "He is your white moonlight, and we are on the verge of divorce. What kind of alpha gets into an accident on the very first day of the divorce cooling-off period? What kind of alpha, after suffering amnesia, fixates on his ex-wife? Such absurdity. How did I come to encounter this?" "I do not believe it, unless you recreate the scene," he declared, lifting his chin with a hint of pride. "Just tonight, tear my clothes, let me experience it, and perhaps I might remember that my eyelid twitched involuntarily. Was he out of his mind?" Fine, he was indeed unwell, and quite severely at that. At that moment, a doctor knocked on the door, entering with the first words. "Yes, recreating the scene can aid in the patient's recovery. Stimulate, stimulate. Additionally, you may be discharged. Do remember to rest." As the doctor departed, he wore a smile. I was left pondering what could possibly be amusing, but it was undoubtedly not a good omen. I'm truly out of my mind for agreeing to reenact the scene with him. The dim lighting enveloped us, and he wore nothing but a shirt, the scent of sandalwood pheromones wafting through the air, igniting a thrill within me. Leaning against the edge of the bed, he beckoned with a finger. "Come here. Do I need to teach you?" The familiar pheromones effortlessly stirred my own. I pressed my lips against his, and he responded naturally. To my astonishment, he reciprocated. Despite being married to him for 3 years, he had barely touched me. His fervor only ignited during his sensitive periods, yet he never left a lifelong mark on me. Temporary marks lasted only a month. Even during my heat, when my pheromones swelled, he remained remarkably restrained. I knew deep down that he did not love me. As if dissatisfied with my kiss, he abruptly pulled me closer. "Am I worthless? I've endured for so long without marking you." His eyes glistened with unshed tears, leaving me momentarily speechless. "Your pheromone scent is truly intoxicating, reminiscent of rose essence." I had thought my pheromones held no allure for him, yet our compatibility was undeniably high at 95. Over these 3 years, I had begun to doubt my own charm. "Tear off my shirt," he commanded, his voice low and suggestive, as if guiding me. I grasped his shirt and, with a decisive tug, ripped it apart. "That's more like it," he said, satisfied, before planting a kiss on me. I bit down on his neck. "Do you remember now?" "Yes, I do. Spread your legs a bit more and I might recall even more." As I sensed the situation spiraling, I reached for the suppressants at the edge of the bed, tore open the packaging, and forced it into his mouth. The aroma of sandalwood diminished instantly, and the turbulent pheromones settled. I tidied my clothing. "This is where we stop. Anything further is beyond the bounds of our divorce." His face still bore a hint of flush as he licked his lips. "You smell absolutely divine." You don't want," I interjected, pushing him into the bathroom. I then switched rooms and took several cold showers to quell the fervor of my pheromones. Over the next 2 weeks, we explored every possibility that lay before us. Yet, he still remembered nothing. "Chu Nanting, it's been 2 weeks, and you still haven't recalled anything." His mind remained a blank slate. Aside from indulging in our pleasures and filming videos, did we not engage in anything else? He expressed disbelief. "No, we did nothing else," I confirmed. The apartment bore little trace of his presence. Dressed in pajamas, he wandered through the apartment, exuding his pheromones. "If you grant me a lifelong mark, perhaps I could remember." He attempted to negotiate with me. For the past 2 weeks, he had been yearning to bite me, but I had thwarted him each time. "Dream on. We are in the midst of a divorce, my dear." I felt a warmth rising within me and took a suppressive agent to regain my composure. His brows knitted tightly together. "Not remembering the divorce doesn't count." I opened the window to disperse some of his scent and reiterated our relationship. "We have no feelings for each other. Naturally, you cannot remember. You were acquired by my means. 3 years ago, when Chu Nanting's parents perished in a car accident, His family fell into disarray. Meanwhile, my family ascended in prominence. And I married him for 30 million, tearing apart his connection with his beloved, forcibly obtaining him. Since we wed through cunning means, why now seek a divorce? He seemed perplexed, because 3 years ago I was infatuated, but now I am focused on my career. Chu Nanting threatened me with several million, declaring that if I refused to divorce him, he would see us both perish. While I possessed the capability to contend with him, who can resist wealth? If he wished for a divorce, so be it. I had grown weary of the charade. Days later, I found myself contemplating the equity contract from the headquarters resting on my desk. Chu Nanting tossed a pen my way, exuding the aura of a domineering CO sign. What's mine is yours. Aren't you the one focused on your career? I will aid in your endeavors, and you will remain by my side. Master Chu, during the divorce period, equity cannot be transferred. I gently reminded him, as it was the rule. Moreover, if memory serves, this portion of assets you bestowed upon me was originally mine. He had transferred this to me as compensation before the divorce. Yet he seemed to have forgotten. He blinked in confusion. Did I give this to you? This belonged to my parents. Did I truly give it all to you? I nodded with certainty, while he appeared utterly astonished. This is my last remaining asset. I've given it all to you. Suddenly, he embraced me. Then you must take care of me from now on. I was at a loss for words. He, the esteemed Chu, should not require my support. His assets outweighed mine significantly. Perhaps his mind was not quite right. I retrieved an identical contract from my desk and handed it to him. Here, this is all you have given me. Not a penny more. He gazed at the contract, contemplating, but just then, his phone rang. It was the investigation team looking into the car accident. Being struck by a vehicle was no trivial matter, and the investigation moved swiftly. The one who fled is Qin Yi. The footage has been sent to your phone. Will you pursue responsibility? The name startled me, and the video that followed was crystal clear, revealing the driver. He seems a bit familiar, Chu Nanting remarked, squinting at the video. So you remember him, I retorted with a smirk. Indeed. One could forget many things, but the beloved remains unforgettable. That despicable green tea. Chu Nanting exclaimed, pointing at the person in the video who had struck him, his voice rising in shock. My heart raced. It seemed he had recalled nothing. I chuckled. Yes, that green tea. Just a few days ago you handed him 30 million. He was taken aback. Why? I shrugged. Who could say? Perhaps it was out of fondness for his beloved. However, given that Chu Nanting had already bestowed millions upon him, why would he resort to striking him with a car? If he had quarreled with his beloved, I would indeed be pleased. Alas, Chu Nanting was currently amnesiac. Otherwise, I would relish witnessing his expression at this moment. It would surely be spectacular. In the regulatory chamber, we confronted Qin Yi. Why did you strike Chu Nanting? I attempted to engage in a calm discussion, but unexpectedly he erupted. Gu Yanxing, it's all your fault. You've stolen everything from me. Qin Yi's emotions spiraled out of control, necessitating his forceful removal to an isolation room. We spoke through the glass. Chu Nanting, why are you still with him? Didn't you say you'd divorce him and be with me? You owe me this. Upon seeing Chu Nanting, Qin Yi became agitated, pounding on the glass like a madman. I was incensed. Qin Yi, are you out of your mind? What does he owe you? How could Chu Nanting owe him anything? Their wretched relationship had long been severed by me. He cheated. Why are you still with him? Why? Qin Yi shouted frantically from within. As his emotions flared, pheromones filled the air. I tapped the glass. Who are you accusing of infidelity? Infidelity, indeed. Was it possible that Chu Nanting sought a divorce from me due to suspicions of my unfaithfulness? Chu Nanting instinctively covered his nose with his hand, a look of disgust crossing his face, an expression he had worn before when I had forced him. I released some of my pheromones to soothe Chu Nanting's agitation. Gu Yanxing, what are you so proud of? Do you think it's so easy? Even if he has lost his memory, he still loves you, he shouted. I maintained a calm facade, though turmoil brewed within me. Did Chu Nanting love me? How could I not know? Chu Nanting grasped my wrist, frowning. I don't like him. He seemed to be explaining, leaning against me, his voice soft. Wife, I have a headache. I patted his shoulder reassuringly. It's all right. Let us go home. Upon returning home, Chu Nanting appeared unwell, his complexion pale, persistently lamenting his headache. After I released my pheromones, he pressed against my neck, nuzzling. Wife, please mark me one to you. The scent of his rich sandalwood pheromones was more intense than ever, filled with an insatiable yearning. After years of marriage, I had never experienced such fervor from him. His pheromones were imbued with possessive thoughts. The sandalwood enveloped me like a heady wine, intoxicating my senses. My own pheromones responded to his, blooming like roses, awaiting his mark. Chu Nanting, no. I attempted to suppress the gland at the back of my neck, but he was quicker, grasping my wrist and biting down on my neck. Do not reject me. In that instant of biting, he infused me with his pheromones. The marking of the gland was a fleeting moment. He pressed on my shoulders, attempting to tear my clothing. Are you certain? It feels as if I can't help but mark you. He was nearly frantic, a sensation I could feel through his pheromones. My heart raced, his scent mingling with mine, rendering me powerless to resist. Ding dong. At that moment, the doorbell rang, and I instinctively pushed Chu Nanting away. The doorbell continued to ring, and only then did he lazily make his way to answer it. Who are you? What do you want? He inquired angrily from outside. Mr. Chu, I am the lawyer handling your divorce case. I heard the voice, hurriedly dressing to conceal the gland he had bitten. By the way, Mr. Chu, I must remind you that if you wish to divorce, you cannot have any marks within 6 months. If it's a deep mark, it must be removed. The lawyer had come to deliver the divorce petition. I was astonished that Chu Nanting had answered the door in his pajamas, equally surprised by the scent of his pheromones enveloping me. I scrutinized the divorce documents and realized I had never delved into the reasons behind Chu Nanting's desire for divorce, which now seemed quite peculiar. After 3 years of marriage, although I had initially coerced him, he had later grown powerful and we had lived amicably without thoughts of divorce. But now, I yearned to uncover the truth. Within the documents, I found numerous photographs of myself with colleagues, some of which, due to their angles, appeared rather ambiguous. There were also pictures from nights I had spent out at bars. On the back of the photos were scrawled words. He doesn't truly love you. He merely desires you. He could find you, but he could also find others. During the days you are not by his side, you have no idea how many he has sought. Suddenly, I recalled that in the period leading up to our divorce, he often met with Qin Yi. It turned out he suspected I was seeing someone else. I observed as the amnesiac Chu Nanting confronted the lawyer. You are the one who incited me to divorce my wife, he said, scrutinizing the lawyer, his earnest inquiry making me chuckle. The lawyer offered an awkward smile, attempting to clarify. Mr. President, you are the one filing the petition. Moreover, you mentioned your lack of feelings for young Master Gu. You are merely experiencing amnesia. It doesn't mean you wish to divorce. I'll pay you double for the divorce petition. Now withdraw the documents. Chu Nanting snatched the materials from my hands and threw them at the lawyer across from him. The lawyer, taken aback, glanced at me, clutching the documents. These were personally submitted by you, Mr. President. Chu Nanting, perhaps you should move out for now. The lawyer's words reminded me that Chu Nanting was simply suffering from amnesia. It didn't mean he wanted a divorce. If he marked me during the cooling-off period, it would only complicate matters further. Chu Nanting was startled, looking at me in disbelief. Wife, are you asking me to leave? We are getting a divorce. If you don't move out within 6 months, I will. I stood up to leave, but he grasped my wrist. I'll move out, just don't go. He reluctantly gathered a few items of clothing, wanting to speak with me before he left. I simply shut the door, only opening it once the sounds from outside had ceased. After Chu Nanting moved out, an emptiness settled within me, accompanied by a sense of restlessness. Where could he have gone? Ding-ling. Just as I pondered where Chu Nanting might be, my phone rang. What is it? I intended to sound indifferent, but the voice on the other end was breathless. Yan Sheng, I'm in my sensitive period. His breathing was ragged, and I felt a surge of anxiety. Where are you? He provided an address and I rushed over. The scent of his pheromones engulfed the presidential suite of the hotel. As soon as I opened the door, he embraced me from the side. I missed you. The bed was strewn with clothes he had taken from my apartment, the creases suggesting he had lain upon them. Don't move, Gu Yansheng. He held me tightly, nipping at my neck from behind, pushing me against the wall, kissing my lips. I noticed a bottle of medication by the bedside. It was a pheromone-enhancing drug. He was not in a sensitive period at all. You're insane for using that kind of drug. It's meant for inferior marking. A normal person using such a drug would only experience pheromone disruption. I just wanted to see if you would come under these circumstances. He was pressed against me, sweat dripping down, his feverish cheek against my neck, his breath hot. I embraced him and led him to the bed, considering finding him a pheromone suppressor. Just as I reached the door, he forcefully blocked my way. Where do you think you're going, wife? The pheromones enveloped my senses, weakening my resolve. He held me, urgently biting into my neck, tearing apart the clothing between us. Gu Yen Sheng, if I mark you for life, will you never leave me? Chu Nanting, stop. I wanted to implore him to calm down, but our pheromones intertwined. Having just been marked by him, my awareness quickly succumbed to his pheromones. I could neither control him nor myself. I can't stop. I don't know how to stop. His words and actions suddenly became fierce, pulling me and tossing me onto the bed. I nearly lost consciousness. In the end, I was marked by him for life. After days of madness, I had made more progress in just a few days than I had in years. My body bore the marks left by Chu Nanting. Initially, I thought about washing them away, but he followed me into the bathroom. He turned on the warm shower, pulling me to the other side of the tub, revealing the multitude of bruises on my skin. Yet, aside from a few scratch marks, he bore no such marks. He exposed his shoulder, pressing against me. Let me mark you back. I bit down on his shoulder without reservation, at least to relieve my frustration. Once I regained my senses, I felt utterly deranged. If we truly divorced, I would have to undergo the agony of removing the marks. Removing a lifelong mark would be excruciating. Yet he seemed elated. Can we go home now? He clung to me like a puppy, biting me as I regained my composure. Unable to resist him, I brought him back home, intending to wait for him to recover his memory and demand some compensation. Wife, can we not get divorced? After returning home, he asked me this every single day. Could I say no? Each time I responded, I was dragged into the room for a lesson. In these few days, I had been marked more times than in the 3 years prior. I patted his cheek. Yes, but only after you regain your memory. All right. After he said this, he embraced me and bit down on the gland at the back of my neck again, pushing me towards the balcony railing, his hands lifting my clothing. I was startled and pushed him away, exclaiming, "What are you doing?" Reinforcing the mark. I seem to recall a bit from when we experimented on the balcony before. He replied. My expression darkened. You truly remember. Amidst the myriad of events he had forgotten, this particular memory lingered. Suddenly he chuckled, just kidding, and you believed it. Chu Nanting expressed his desire to revisit all the things he had done in the past. He claimed that once he genuinely remembered, he would be able to ascertain whether he had fallen for me at first sight. I could only smile at his notion, choosing not to shatter his illusion. After all, I was well aware of how he used to be. Chu Nanting had once been exceedingly busy, but now he appeared rather idle, spending his days clinging to me without any other pursuits. Aren't you going to manage your company? I inquired. Though he had lost his memory, basic business responsibilities still required attention. His company had been so bustling that he had hardly been home for half a year. Now, it seemed as if it had gone bankrupt. I don't know. No one has contacted me. If they don't seek me out, I don't have to work. You are my priority, he declared, staring at me while attempting to lean in for a kiss. I blocked his mouth. He could afford to skip work, but I could not. I must head to the office. The phone was nearly inundated with calls from my company. I was the sole person managing affairs in the family, while everyone else was off enjoying themselves. If I neglected my duties any longer, the company would collapse. I have a headache, he murmured, leaning against my shoulder and whining about his discomfort. I pushed him away. This tactic had long ceased to be effective. Over the past few days, he had feigned headaches countless times, each instance a mere charade. Realizing he had no other option, he insisted on driving me to work. If you are not treated fairly in the workplace, why not resign? I can support you, he suggested. Before the company, he nuzzled against my neck, deepening the mark he had left. I felt a pang of pain and pushed him away as I stepped out of the car. Your words truly resemble those of a scoundrel, I retorted. He raised an eyebrow. A scoundrel would add, the amount is up to you, just let me sleep with you. I shot him a glare and muttered, you lunatic. He was merely pretending to be a domineering CEO. Leaning back in his seat, he chuckled and called out as I exited the vehicle. I'll pick you up after work. I responded with an acknowledgement, feeling for the first time that having someone was indeed wonderful. However, when the workday concluded, I found myself waiting in vain for him to arrive. I stood alone in the wind for 2 hours, and while his car never showed, I did receive a call. Beep. The name Chu Nanting was unmistakable, yet an unsettling feeling washed over me. Chu Nanting, you better. Hello, your husband has collapsed and is currently at our hospital. The doctor on the other end interrupted. My heart raced as I immediately hailed a taxi to the hospital. Upon inquiring about his ward, I found him sitting alone on the bed. When he turned to look at me, his gaze was devoid of emotion. You, he stated. My heart fluttered chaotically. I have regained my memory. At that moment, I hesitated to enter. So, are we still getting divorced? I had long wanted to ask him this question when he had lost his memory, but had been uncertain how to approach it. Now that his memories had returned, I yearned to know the answer. He gazed out the window, his voice flat. The divorce settlement is on that table over there. I have already signed it. That is all I can offer you. I understood then that my name had been inscribed on the divorce papers. I did not cheat, nor did I harbor feelings for anyone else. Although misunderstandings had been resolved during his amnesia, I still felt compelled to reiterate. I know, he replied. However, our marriage was ultimately forced upon me. He offered no further elaboration, and I comprehended his meaning. I will remove your mark, I stated. I have organized your belongings. When you have the time, come and collect them. I wished to say no more. The longer I spoke, the more I feared I might strike him. I had been certain that upon awakening, he would choose divorce. How foolish of me to think he would remain with me after regaining his memories. It seemed I had indeed overthought the matter. I scheduled a gland marking removal for a week later. The procedure required his signature confirming the removal of the mark. However, since he had regained his memory, Chu Nanting had vanished. He did not answer my calls, and when I visited his company, he was nowhere to be found. Chu Nanting, why have you suddenly disappeared? Even if there had been no feelings prior, I had cared for him throughout his amnesia. His sudden disappearance, without a hint of hesitation, confirmed my suspicions of his callous nature. You can't just vanish on me. I still have videos of you. I rummaged through the old recordings I had made, and was startled to discover 2 additional videos titled Unspoken Secrets. Curiosity piqued. I clicked on one to find Chu Nanting seated solemnly at a desk. The recording date was the day before we submitted our divorce application. Gu Yenxing, I'll give you one chance. Withdraw the application, and I will forgive you, he stated, then shook his head and restarted the recording. Gu Yenxing, Qin Yi is not my white moonlight. His parents died saving me, so I owe him. Please do not misunderstand. He spoke earnestly to the camera, pausing momentarily before adding, forget it, no explanation. Who told you to force me in the first place? But, Gu Yenxing, didn't you say you could never leave me? Are you planning to keep me locked up for life? He appeared quite conflicted. At the end of the video, he blushed and quietly muttered, can we not get divorced? Although I do not love you, I am not the type to abandon someone. I stared at the figure in the video and cursed, idiot. Clearly, he did not wish for a divorce. What was there to hide? So many excuses. I continued to dial Chu Nanting's number, but it remained unanswered. Only then did I vaguely sense something amiss. Chu Nanting was not the type to vanish without reason. Just after hanging up, a call from a friend came through. Yenxing, have you seen the news? Your ex-husband Chu Nanting has been thrown out of his house. Indeed, without you, he is nothing. I had been so immersed in work that I had neglected to keep up with the news. Hurriedly, I turned on the television, which reported on the scandal. Wealthy young Master S parents misuse power to seize company assets. It detailed how Chu Nanting's parents were implicated in corporate accounting fraud, leading to issues with the will. His uncles had confiscated all the assets his parents had bequeathed to him in the previous will. It turned out that all those assets had been transferred away during his amnesia. No wonder no one sought him out for work during that time. He had been left with nothing. Suddenly, I recalled the transfer he had made to me earlier, stating that it was his last asset. I realized now that he must have known long ago that he was no longer the heir of the Chu family. With his parents deceased, he was left unprotected. As I drove to the estate of the Chu family, rain began to fall from the sky. In the distance, I spotted him sitting alone outside the estate, holding 2 urns, looking disheveled and lost in thought. Chu Nanting, don't you have anywhere to go? Don't you know how to come home? I offered him an umbrella, shielding him from the cold rain. As he looked up, I noticed the cut on his lip. Who did this to you? I reached out to touch it, but he recoiled. Gu Yenxing, what are you doing here? His face was drenched with rain. His eyes slightly red, resembling a forsaken puppy, pitiful and forlorn. If you are suffering, of course I must come. I held the umbrella over him, using a tissue to wipe the rain from his face. So, you've been thrown out. My parents are corrupt. I gave them all my money, so why can't they cover up the shortfall? He sat there in a state of despondency, then suddenly lifted his gaze to meet mine. Fortunately, we are divorced, so I won't be a burden to you. At that moment, I finally comprehended the reason behind his insistence on the divorce. Turned out he didn't want to encumber me. What divorce? There was no approval, no cooling off period. The mark is still there. Let's go home. The rain fell upon him, and he appeared truly wretched. I grasped his clothing and unceremoniously shoved him into my car, reminiscent of 3 years prior when I had spent 30 million to abduct him right from his doorstep. He fell asleep in my vehicle as I parked, sitting beside him and keeping vigil until he stirred awake. Why didn't you tell me? If you had, I could have helped you. At the very least, he wouldn't have been left with nothing, bullied by those from the Chu family. He shook his head. I investigated. My parents indeed embezzled funds. I understand their actions. They have compensated for what they owed. His brow furrowed. His deep-set eyes cast downward, revealing his sorrow. I reached out to smooth the creases on his forehead. Divorce was your way of not burdening me. Yes. He pondered seriously and finally nodded. At least you are still young, Master Gu, a person of distinction. Even after our divorce, you will have others. His response was earnest. Why did you never return home these past 3 years? I didn't wish to hear his explanations on other matters. I merely wanted to know why he had been so distant toward me. I did come back. I returned every week. He leaned back in his seat, somewhat aggrieved. I was taken aback. When? How come I was unaware? Late at night, you were always asleep. He produced his phone and showed me his album filled with photographs of me while I slumbered. I glanced at the timestamps. It indeed appeared that he had updated it weekly. Am I a sleeping beauty? Did he never consider waking me? Why didn't you come to my company to find me? Why didn't you entertain my visits? For 3 years of marriage, he had treated me with cold indifference. I was angry. Who told you to have so many colleagues around? His words left me speechless. It was true. I had indeed been quite sociable before encountering him. So, your refusal to mark me stemmed from your anger? Surely that couldn't be the case. Was he truly so petty? He gritted his teeth and nodded. You forced me into it. I refused to comply. I couldn't be the only one feeling upset. He truly was immature. I had always perceived him as an aloof, godlike figure. Yet thankfully the divorce had not yet been finalized. Congratulations, during your amnesia, you marked me. To jog his memory, I deliberately exposed my neck, where his bite marks still lingered. He immediately turned his head, his ears reddening. I know. I raised an eyebrow and continued, would you like me to wash away the mark? He paused, then shook his head. I don't want that. I chuckled softly, ruffling his hair. Then it shall remain. I must keep you locked away for my peace of mind. Shortly after bringing him home, the Chu family sent people to my company to stir up trouble. Previously, they had refrained from confronting us due to our family's stature while Chu Nanting was suffering from amnesia. Now that he had acknowledged his parents' debts, it was only natural for them to create a scene. How much does he still owe? In the conference room, I occupied the seat of authority, glancing at the debt collectors seated beside me. Young Master Gu, you lost money on him when you bought him for 30 million. One person to my left said with a mocking tone. I couldn't be bothered to look at them, instead writing a check for 50 million. I had calculated the amount yesterday. It was approximately correct. After receiving the money, they still seemed dissatisfied. Young Master Gu, Chu Nanting's parents hold 50% of the consortium's shares. Their intentions were clear. They wanted those shares. However, the market value of those shares far exceeded the sum they were demanding. Those shares were given to me by Chu Nanting. You cannot touch them, nor will you. I detest when others meddle with my possessions. Should anyone covet what I desire, they must be eliminated. They took the money and departed without further ado. I gathered a few individuals and dealt with those troublemakers in a secluded location. After all, I could not tolerate anyone striking Chu Nanting's face. Chu Nanting declared his intention to make a comeback and requested a loan of 40 million for working capital. Your current worth is 100 million. As I calculated the amount to assist him with repaying his debts, I added the 40 million. It was becoming more expensive than maintaining a toy boy. The day after I provided the funds, Chu Nanting vanished, claiming he was on a business trip to the international market. If he hadn't been calling me daily, I would have suspected he had absconded with my money. 6 months later. Ding dong. At the sound of the doorbell, I thought Chu Nanting had returned. I hurriedly opened the door, only to be greeted by a delivery person. Good day, sir. Your divorce certificate has been issued. My smile froze at the sight of those 3 words. Divorce certificate. How had I forgotten that the 6-month cooling-off period had expired? I snapped a photo of the divorce certificate and sent it to Chu Nanting. Wait, big guy, you didn't withdraw your lawsuit. The divorce application hasn't been rescinded. It was hard to believe he was so resolute about the divorce. As soon as the photo was sent, my phone rang. Wife, I forgot. He sounded genuinely remorseful. I chuckled dryly. Forgetting is great, ex-husband. Remember, you owe me 100 million, and when you return, make sure to move out. That night, in my dreams, I caught a whiff of that familiar pheromone. The fragrant scent wafted into my nostrils. In my drowsy state, I began to feel warmth enveloping me, the aroma rekindling desires I had been missing. Chu Nanting. In my haze, I murmured his name, drenched in sweat and yearning for his response. Yes, I'm here. His voice echoed in the darkness, startling me awake. The next moment, my lips were sealed by a familiar touch. I've missed you so much. He unfastened my garment, and we entwined beneath the cloak of night. Upon awakening after our passionate embrace, I waved the divorce certificate in front of him. Ex-husband, you returned late. We are now merely a one-night stand. I wiped the marking gland he had left on me the previous night. Should we wash this mark away? He chuckled, pulling me into his embrace. Tomorrow, let us get our marriage certificate. I pushed him away, leaning against the bed's edge, calmly shaking my head. No. Having just received the divorce certificate, to go and get a marriage certificate again? The officials at the Imperial Marriage Regulatory Bureau would surely think us mad. Chase me, ex-husband. Previously, I had pursued him. Now it was only fair he chased me once. As it turned out, there are indeed strategies to woo a wife. Love letters, money, and creative declarations of affection. After all these years, receiving flowers for the first time still surprised me. However, what baffled me was why he included cilantro among the flowers. Chu Nanting, don't you think you should explain? What's up with the cilantro? Did he just casually toss a handful of cilantro into the bouquet while buying flowers? Gu Yanxing, you are my cilantro. At first taste, it's grassy. Upon second, it remains grassy. Ultimately, it becomes an indispensable seasoning in my life. Chu Nanting's impromptu declaration made my eyelids twitch. I pulled the cilantro out and tossed it at him. Chu Nanting, you really are something. Quite good. His declaration was commendable. It was just painfully corny. 3 months later, Chu Nanting had become accustomed to doing my laundry and cooking. He neatly arranged my dishes, and when serving me food, he did so with a touch more tenderness. I believe I have learned how to love you, Gu Yanxing. He lowered his gaze and produced 2 rings, placing them before me. One is the ring you gave me, and the other is the one I bestow upon you. I examined the rings. One of them was a gift I had purchased for myself 3 years ago when I had compelled him to marry me. He had always been reluctant to wear it, and I had long since lost track of its whereabouts, only to discover he still kept it. I have cherished the ring you gave me all this time, and now I have acquired one to give to you. Will you promise to marry me? His gentle proposal found a joyful acceptance within me as I slipped the ring onto my finger, fitting perfectly. The following day, we visited the registration office. You have only recently obtained a divorce certificate, remarked the representative from the Imperial Marriage Regulatory Bureau, bewildered upon seeing Chu Nanting and me together. I smiled, filling out the form while planting a kiss on Chu Nanting's cheek. I was uncertain not long ago, but today I have clarity. Did neither of you contemplate during the 6-month cooling-off period? The registrar persisted in their confusion. Chu Nanting responded with a kiss of his own, confidently submitting the form. We just came to this realization yesterday. Please process it. Our pheromone compatibility is at 95. That very day, we received our marriage certificate. Yanxing, why don't you erase the mark and let me reestablish it? On the day we registered our marriage, Chu Nanting kissed the mark on the nape of my neck, yet he seemed unsatisfied. He always felt he had drawn the short straw. The gland mark had long been made. No matter how many times he bit, it would merely deepen the mark. He had experienced the lifelong mark even during his amnesia. I nudged him playfully. There's no chance for that now. Who told you to refrain from marking me for those 3 years? The intensity of the marking during his amnesia was beyond my control. Then let us find another way to mark each other. He brought over a pen, pressed down on my arm, and inscribed his name upon my left shoulder, just as I had inscribed my name on his neck years ago. You belong to me now. He kissed my lips, and I reciprocated, then seized the pen from his hand. On his shoulder, I inscribed my name in turn. A mark for a lifetime. The end of the narrative. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and liking to support. Until we meet again in the next story.